Okay, welcome back to the second installment of this new segment. Drive Home Reviews is All Elite, talking about last night's Dynamite. Fairly standard show, pretty good, pretty decent go-home Dynamite before the pay-per-view. I know there's a lot of backstage stuff going on at AEW right now, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a little concerning. But at the same time, I think it's growing pains. I mean, they're 3 to 4 years into their existence, and they've been riding a pretty steady high up to this point. So, and even through the pandemic, they did pretty good. So I think what they're going through now is just some things they need to get figured out, and hopefully they'll learn from their own mistakes and the mistakes of others, and come out better on the other end. But all that being said, I have to say, I still think that even with everything going on backstage, AEW still has the best on-screen program of any wrestling company out there, bar none. Their in-ring work is just above reproach in my personal opinion. So show was pretty standard. Started out with, well, we'll talk about what it started out with in a minute. Let's just talk about the matches. So Bryan versus Hager, pretty standard. Jake Hager knows his role and does it well. He puts other guys over and makes them look strong doing it. And yeah, so kudos to them. Pretty sure Daniel Garcia is going to turn on Jericho at the pay-per-view, join the Blackpool Combat Club. I think everyone's kind of hip to that storyline. Women's match was really fun and really entertaining for the 4 contestants in the interim Women's World Championship match. Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Interestingly enough, Hikaru Shida got the win over Baker clean, which is something that does not happen a lot. Like, Britt is very, very well protected in AEW. So the fact that Shida got the win over her and like Hayter didn't take the fall, that's kind of interesting to me. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't really have a pick. If I had to say it, I'd probably think Toni Storm's probably going to win it at the pay-per-view. I will say this, just off topic. I don't know if I don't know how I feel about this interim champion thing. On the one hand, I understand it. It's a neat way to kind of come at the concept of a person being hurt, having to relinquish a title, and then coming back and having to do the, oh, I never lost the belt. You know, so having them not actually lose it, just have someone else carry it while they're gone, it's a new way of handling it. But at the same time, it definitely feels like it doesn't cheapen the title, it cheapens the performer. We saw it while Moxley was the interim world champion. They kept saying that, and it kind of felt like it lessened him as the champ. So I don't know how I feel about it. But anyway, a fairly entertaining match. I know a lot of people complain about the way AEW handles their women wrestlers, and I kind of agree. They're not booked as strongly or dominantly as the male competitors. But I think putting them on earlier helped, as opposed to that dead spot they usually get right before the main event. So I think that was a good spot, and I think they should keep the women's matches there. Saw the AEW debut of W. Morrissey, formerly Big Cass, coming down, beating the crap out of the Wingmen, the Job Squad from AEW Dark, which I was kind of disappointed to see, because the segment opens with the Wingmen out there and saying they want to be on Dynamite, they want to be on Rampage, they want to be bigger hands. And I was like, okay, good. I'd love to actually see these guys get on the big shows and, do something. They're great, they're fun, they're workhorses, especially Peter Avalon. I've loved Peter Avalon since AEW started. He's always been fun and wonderful. And no, they were just there to be fodder for Morrissey. And then Stokely comes out and gives Morrissey his business card, as we've seen him do, and Morrissey goes back with him. So Stokely's been putting together this little faction of his, or this little stable with, so far he's got Ethan Page, he's got the Gun Club, and now Morrissey, which I don't think is a bad thing. Those are all good up-and-coming guys who could use that push. But here's the thing, when they finally do something, they're going to have to be really careful and make sure that they book them strong. Like, his influence is actually having a positive effect. Because if they just come out and they're just another group of guys, mid-carders, going, oh, now we're back and now we're strong, and then they just job out to everybody, it's, you know, it's just going to be more of the same. And that's one of those pitfalls that AEW used to be a lot better at avoiding. I remember when they first started, they didn't quite do 50-50 booking, but a lot of these, I'm going to say smaller talents or lesser known talents, were still treated as being on the same level as the big names. I mean, I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again, you know, Private Party beat the Young Bucks clean in the first round of the Tag Team Championship tournament. And you don't see that as much anymore. It's very, we kind of know who the winners and who the losers are going to be in most instances. So if they're going to bring these guys back, I hope they do so in a way that actually is more interesting, you know, and actually does give these guys a boost, because they're all good wrestlers, they're all good talents, and I would like to see them go further. So like a lot of Dynamites, this is a show about two matches, you know, because you got your basic good entertaining matches, and then you got your really awesome matches, and you got two really awesome matches. You had a four-way dance with Roosh, Ray Phoenix, Dante Martin, and Wheeler Yuta, four of the guys who are going to be involved in the ladder match at the pay-per-view. Just great. I love these kind of matches. Love them. I love these high-energy, fast-paced spot fests. And all of these guys are just amazing. And so, yeah, it's just AEW giving four of their best workers a certain amount of time so they can go out there and have fun and wow us, and they did. I know a lot of people, a lot of wrestling purists don't like, you know, these kind of matches. Oh, there's no stakes. Oh, nobody's selling. Oh, it's like watching a video game. Yeah, it is. You know why? Because video games are fucking fun. And so is this match. It was awesome. And I gotta say, I was aware of Roosh before he arrived, but I didn't watch Ring of Honor that much, and he has just been killing it. I think this guy is amazing. I get the hype. So yeah, that match was fantastic. Prediction time, and maybe I'm behind the 8 ball, or maybe I'm slow and everybody else got this before I did, but prediction for the pay-per-view, I predict that the wild card in the casino ladder match will be the returning MJF. He'll get the win, and he'll get the eventual world title shot, and that's how they're going to do him versus Punk, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then we go to the final round of the Dynamite bracket for the AEW Trios World Tag Team Championship. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay and Aussie Open, and it was everything that was supposed to be on the box. This is another one like the previous match. Big spot fest, 6 great workers, fast-paced, big spots. Ospreay and Omega are like made for each other, just made for each other. It's like, you know, it's like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. It's like Ric Flair and Sting, or Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. These are two guys that are just made for each other and bring out the best in each other. And again, Will Ospreay is another one of those guys whose name I've heard and I've seen sporadically with the videos I can find on YouTube, but I've never seen one of his matches. I've never seen this much of him. And damn, he really is that fucking good. I don't know if they're actually planning to bring him up, you know, or bring him over from New Japan. I think he's pretty happy over there and has a nice little niche for himself, because on the one hand, I'd love to see him come over to AEW, but on the other, he'd be playing second fiddle to Kenny Omega, and over in New Japan, he doesn't have to play second fiddle to anybody. So, and plus, I think keeping him over there and bringing him in for these kind of specialty matches keeps him in the rivalry special and keeps it from becoming just another rivalry. But yeah, this was a phenomenal match. Again, a lot of spots, A lot of fun, a lot of near falls. If I had to find fault, there's only two things I can really find fault with this match. Number one, it's that I always get a little annoyed with just how strong the Young Bucks are always booked. And it's not even that they win or that they're champions or anything like that, because you know they're going to win this tournament. I'd be really amazed if they didn't win. But they go through these incredible moves. Their opponents put these incredible, badass moves on them, and they always kick out. And it's just they're always booked like they're indestructible. And I get it. I really do. Aside from just being, executives in the company, I get it. But it's like, I don't know. Sometimes that gets a little tiring for me. The only other objection I had to this match is this was a pay-per-view match. This was a pay-per-view quality match. This should have been the finals. Yeah, this should have been the finals. And I think I know where they're going. I'm pretty positive, because earlier in the night they did a bit where other members of the Dark Order were hurt, and Hangman Page is going to step up and take their place with the Dark Order in the Trios tournament. So it's probably, I would imagine it's going to come down to the Bucks and Omega versus the Dark Order and Hangman. I'm pretty sure of that. Which, okay, fine. Because the story of the Elite is one of the great ongoing storylines in AEW and has been since the beginning, so I get that. But I don't know. I just think that this match was pay-per-view quality. The only other thing I'll say about this is, Kenny, buddy, so I'm not a doctor, and I don't know if doing this is going to decrease the effectiveness of the garment. But if you need to keep wearing those compression shirts, and I understand that you do, to help you heal from the just multitude of surgeries you've had to have. But if you're going to do that, can you take those to Rob Van Dam's singlet guy and get some cool designs airbrushed on them? Because it's coming out in this black plain compression shirt. It just looks weird. It looks like you weren't ready to wrestle. You look like Shawn Michaels with his poop brown pants there at the Survivor Series. So go get something spray painted that you can then transfer over to a t-shirt or something, I mean, would that destroy the fibers? Would that make it not useful as a compression shirt? I don't know. If so, then forget I said anything. But yeah, let's zhuzh that up a little bit, man. Come on. You're Kenny Omega. You can't just have you out there looking like, oh, I forgot I was wrestling tonight. But let's talk about the big story, because this is the one I have to rant on for a few minutes, and I'm almost out of drive. So the big story out of this Dynamite is that they did exactly the thing that I was afraid they were going to do. So Moxley comes out at the top of the show, cuts a great promo, says, I've got an open contract for the title match at the pay-per-view. I'm just going to leave this here in the middle of the ring. Whoever wants it, come and get it. One of the producers comes and grabs it, and we're told that that's one of CM Punk's best friends. So right away, you knew where this was headed. And then later, out comes Punk, and he's all downtrodden and sad, and I just don't think I've got it in me anymore. And then out comes this no-name guy that maybe, I guess, hardcore wrestling fans know, but I don't think the rest of us did. And, gives Punk his, you go win one for the Gipper. You're here in Chicago. You're Chicago strong. We love Chicago. And Punk says, yes, I will. I'm going to sign the contract, and I'm going to fight John. And it's like, oh, my God. I realize I'm in the minority on this. I really do. But I don't feel I'm in as much of the minority as normal. Like when I say that, Back to the Future is an overrated movie. That's an unpopular opinion. But I don't think it's as unpopular to say I'm just not as enthralled with CM Punk as everyone else seems to be. I wasn't excited when he should. I was excited for what it meant for AEW, but him as a person, I have never been a fan of. Even though he says things that I do agree with, and I do agree that he got a shit deal from the WWE. They didn't know how to book him. But he's also a thin-skinned, entitled prick, basically. And I saw this comment, I think it was on one of Cultaholic's videos from last week, and I saw this comment, it was really great, sums it up perfectly, that Punk loves to go on these rants about Hogan and Rock and how they came in and they stole his spot, you know, and all this, and now he's doing the exact same thing. He's doing the exact same thing that he accused them of doing. But it's okay because it's him. And yes, he's a draw. I get that. But I just do not like him as the champion. I want to see that belt with AEW guys. And yes, I do consider Moxley an AEW guy. You know, and I don't know. I just get really tired of the fucking CM Punk Chicago circle jerk. You know, I mean, did Tony Khan lose his virginity in Chicago? Is that why the constant kissing of Chicago's ass? Nothing against Chicago, you understand. It's a great town. But, I mean, they never play up any of the other places they go to this extent. Maybe Staten Island when MJF is there. But they never play up anywhere else that they go this fucking much. But they just love Chicago, and CM Punk is the king of Chicago, and it really made me not interested in the pay-per-view, because you know what's going to happen. And I say that, and of course they can always surprise you. I wouldn't have predicted that Moxley was going to pin Punk in 3 minutes last week, but at the same time, it's like, okay, you see the storyline. And yeah, a lot of times you see the storyline in AEW, and that doesn't matter. It's just, I don't want Punk as champ. I don't like Punk as champ. I don't like him. And it's like, I really don't want to pay for a pay-per-view to watch him win that title and have Tony Khan in Chicago kiss his ass and feed his massive fucking ego again. It's just, I don't. I want, you know, I truly hope that I'm right and that MJF comes back, wins the Battle Royal, and I hope he immediately challenges Punk. They probably won't do that. They'll probably hold off for until the next pay-per-view in 2 months. But I want that belt on an AEW guy, not on a guy who's there for the paycheck and the ego stroke. You know? That's my opinion, and I know I'm in the minority. A lot of people love Punk, still think he's the greatest thing in the world, and, you know, if that's true, if that's you, then fine, you know, whatever. But for me, I don't know. I was not enthralled with those segments, and it's not got me looking forward to the pay-per-view, which is sad because there's a lot of good stuff going on at that pay-per-view that I'm going to be looking forward to. Wow, that was a much longer review than I was planning, so sorry about that. But so yeah, on the whole, I thought the show was good, decent go-home show. We'll see what happens at the pay-per-view, see how many of these predictions are proven correct, and yeah, so thanks for coming along, thanks for watching if you did. Let me know what you think, and as always, drive safe, and I'll see you at the movies, or will I see you at the arena? I'm still working on, you know, how to close out these Dynamite reviews, so, but I'll see you somewhere.